All right, here we go. We started live. I don't see a camera though. That's the problem. Is there a camera? Can you guys see what's happening? I'm in another group here. Hopefully you guys can find your way over here. If not, I humbly apologize. Let us begin. Hello everyone and welcome to BHT Studios. Just give me 1 second here as I go into the other live that I started in the other one that I set up. I keep on messing up these lives. I must be doing something wrong. I don't know exactly what I'm doing, and I don't know enough smart people to help me with this, or I guess I haven't really reached out here. I'm gonna just say here, started another live. Please find me there. Sorry and thanks. Please. All right. So hopefully enough of you that are waiting in the other, there's like 19 people waiting over there. Hopefully you can find your way back over on this side here. So I apologize that. Yeah, I tried to get here earlier. I had lunch with the camera girl, and as I should, I had to do chores, and I knew I would be. I knew again that I would have 10 minutes to set everything up. And I keep on having issues with setting up the streaming. And I'm not going to take up too much of this live show explaining the struggles that I've been having. But I think part of the problem is I think it was like 1 a.m. last night. I was setting up the live. So I got my thumbnail. I wrote up everything. I put in all the links. But I set it all up on my Mac. And then when I go to my Windows PC, I think maybe that's where the problem is happening. I'm scheduling the live on my MacBook, and then I'm hoping that within the app, it will I don't know. Obviously, I'm doing something wrong. Paul Yan, good morning. Michael jumped over, thank you. Calvin, greeting from Estoril, Portugal. Hey, Portugal. Welcome, Calvin. And Donald, I can see and hear. Yeah, and let me know if the audio is good and if we're in 1080. And London, I hope this is a better time now that we're an hour earlier. Unless you guys in the UK also still do daylight savings. I think, wasn't it the UK that started daylight savings, or was it in the US? But we have daylight savings, and it means in the spring we go an hour forward so now we're in daylight time, and then in the fall we go 1 hour back, so we fall back. And then we are in that savings time. And so hopefully, let's just see here. Scott Michael, sorry. Aloha, hello, aloha. I just got my XE4 and 27, and I'm deciding which item to get, the thumb or the hand grip. I found the hand grip handier, and also a lot of companies make thumb grips anyways, the thumb rest. And so I would say, at least for me, I found that because there is absolutely no hand grip on the XE4 at this time. So for me, I found the hand grip more functional. But perhaps for you, you'll find the thumb. And also, I do use the flash hot shoe to actually put flashes on there. So once you become dependent on it, and then to need that hot shoe, and it's being taken up by the thumb rest or thumb grip. I think they call it the thumb rest. But anyways, I actually ended up using both of them. I have already sent it back to Fujifilm, so I don't have it here as the group of cameras that I'm showcasing. But anyways, and Cafe YVR, thanks for letting people know in the other group that I've moved over to this one, and I'm gonna have to fix all of this after as well. So man, the comments are coming in too, so let me just try to catch up here. If I missed any of your questions, I couldn't have missed it already, could I? We just started here. New York City on. Excellent. Sound is good. Jeff, thank you. Excellent. Audio is great. All the way to Zurich. Excellent. I'm glad to hear the audio is good. Daylight savings is next week for you guys. wherever you guys are at. In the UK, yeah, we just did ours. I think in North America, or maybe it was just Canada, we decided to shrink the window of daylight savings. I think it's shorter now. We start it later and we finish it earlier, so we're in daylight time longer. But that's just weird because if every country does that, that really must mess up with like plane schedules and other Zoom meetings and things like that, right? As long as we know what we are plus minus GMT time, which I think we are now 8 hours behind GMT, right? Someone can look that up. So yeah, it's a weird thing. I hope it's gone eventually. Michael saying it's a great time here at 9:30 p.m. Yeah, so I think now when I come on at 9:30 Pacific Daylight Time that we're in right now, it's good for Europe. So I'm glad that's working out for you. And hello from Chicago. Hello, Peter. When I do like photo editing and processing, I usually have Netflix or YouTube playing in the background, which I know it's not good, but I do find that photo editing and processing is somewhat mindless for me. I can kind of do it in auto mode, and so I have Netflix playing. And last night I was watching for I think the third time now the Last Dance with starring Michael Jordan and the I guess 89 to 92 and the 96 to 98 Chicago Bulls. And so, anyways, great documentary. Even if you don't like basketball, I think it's a great documentary to watch. Isaac saying you just got a Minolta SRT 101. Excellent. In black. Feels lighter than the silver one. Well, you know, all those older cameras were handmade and they were kind of fit to finish, meaning a lot of them at the time still weren't being mass produced. And like the early Leica cameras, whoever got the camera, they could have put a little bit more metal in one than the last person. So in terms of quality control, I guess it could have been up and down. Like some of the Leicas could have been pristine, while other ones could have been less pristine based on the person that was working on it. And so it is possible that your black SRT is lighter than your silver one, but I don't think it's by design. Perhaps it could just be the person that built it. By the way, Jeff, are you going to do shows with John Lehman? Yeah, I'm definitely going to have guests on. I just need to make sure I'm not screwing up OBS every week. And also kind of, you know, the amount of time that it takes to dedicate to doing these lives. I am actively looking for a sponsor for these weekly shows because, you know, even though I only talk for an hour and a half, actually, Cafe Weber, can you let me know at 45 minutes? So we're in at 8 minutes. So 45 minutes from now, if you start a timer, can you let me know when we get to that point? And I'll try to wrap up within an hour. Because, you know, like I have an article due tonight. I worked till 1 a.m. last night, exhausted, woke up an hour earlier than normal today and spent time with Camera Girl, and then rush over here. And, you know, I have things that I should be doing, and I've been trying my best to keep this live show weekly, but it looks like it's a bit of a struggle for me, especially because, you know, it does take sort of time and energy, and you know, I'm not doing this from home. This is at my studio. I'm gonna come over here on a Sunday, which works out fine for me because Camera Girl right now, my wife, she's teaching piano, so I want to be out of the house. I'd probably be here but doing something else, and there is a bit of a heightened stress when I'm here and I have 15 minutes to set up and I'm always screwing up. If I do a live with a guest, I should be here like an hour earlier. Make sure that my guest is connected. Maybe we try the night before to make sure everything's working. And then the next day, try about an hour or at least half an hour before to make sure everything is working. And to do all that without a sponsor probably isn't going to work for me. I could just write another article or take on extra freelance work. And so I'm thinking maybe I might do these lives once every other week. That way I can increase the production value and perhaps get more views. and as well convince someone to sponsor these live shows, so that, let's say, every 15 minutes I'll say, oh, by the way, just to let you know that this live show is brought to you by so and so. Without their support, I couldn't do these things. Blah blah blah. So I am actively looking for a sponsor. If any of you guys know who would want to sponsor these live shows, I'd appreciate it. Then I would prioritize my lives and make sure that it is something that I could do once a week. But if not, I think I'm gonna probably have to do it every other week. And then getting guests on at the time that I want them on, right? So maybe John will be like, no, dude, Sunday's my family time. Or if it's someone that's not even in my time zone. So John's in my time zone. So if I convince him to pick one Sunday that he is free, he probably would come on, I hope, John, if you're watching. But if I'm interviewing someone who's like in Hong Kong right now, it's probably like 6 or 7 in the morning right now, right? Or 6:30, 7:30 in the morning, or maybe even earlier. And someone in the UK, it probably will work out. And I do have some friends over in Europe, but even for them, maybe Sunday night at 9:30 or 10 isn't a good time for them to be coming on live. So there's a little bit of logistics involved in doing live with the guests. And so let me work that out. It's not the priority for my brand. It in terms of the amount of time and effort and what I get back from it, other than my engagement with you guys, which I do really appreciate. It's kind of a tough squeeze into this, because if I do so much of this, I screwed up the OBS. I got to spend probably half an hour fixing everything, because now the description is all off, and then there's probably people wondering what the heck is going on my proper thumbnail. So I got to transfer all that across and fix it. I got to spend half an hour fixing all that. Now and then I got an article due, which probably means I'm going to be working till 1 a.m. tonight, while camera girl's angry at me that I'm working so late. And so, anyways, hence the life of a freelancer. But I appreciate you guys coming on. I'm going to... I see. So you guys are switching over on the 28th. Yeah, so isn't that weird? I guess either in Canada or North America, we've shortened that the daylight savings. We started later, and I think we end earlier. But in the UK, you guys are going back to the standard time on the 28th. Okay, so it's different. Oh, in the USA, we went longer. Oh, you saying the UK 28th, USA? So is it a Canada thing? This is messed up. I think we all have to stop doing daylight savings. We love it in the fall when we gain the hour, but then we hate it in the spring when we have to give it back. I think it's crazy that we have to go backwards and forwards. It makes no sense to me. If your business relies on it being sunny, then just start an hour later in the fall and start an hour earlier in the spring. Let me know in the comments if there's some type of business or institution where that can't work. Maybe it can't. Like maybe if you're school and you have childcare, and I don't know. But I think throwing everything an hour forward or backwards does more harm than good. At least now it does. When it started back in World War I or World War II to save on energy costs, I think the world is a little bit different today. So Edmonton, hey Eric, I could tell by your thumbnail, your little avatar, you are in Edmonton. And I think I've said this many times. Camera Girl was born in Edmonton, so she only lived there for 1 year, but she still considers herself an Edmontonian and cheers on Edmonton whenever she can, even when it comes to football. What have you guys? Hey Eric, have you guys figured out a new name for your football team? What the new team name is going to be? Jerome. I love the cap B. No, this is actually an R. It's not a B. It'd be cool if it was an R, but it's an R. But that would be cool. Maybe I will get something like with a B, and then we'll think I'm wearing a Boston hat. Let me see here. Greetings from Mexico. Hey, Jerome from Mexico. I love my Mexican fashion hat though. I wore it in my last YouTube video, I think. And I was going to wear it today, but because I was going all kind of monochromatic today, I thought it would make sense to go black on black and then sort of dark navy on heather gray. I don't know what kind of color gray this is. Kind Cologne, Germany. Hey, how's it going, Sebastian? My cousin was in Cologne. I have a cousin. She's half German and half Japanese, but she is from Ludenscheid, lived in Cologne, and then she moved to Shanghai and then to Tokyo, and then she's back in Germany, but now she lives in Munich. But this year was the year, or last year was the year I was going to go visit her in Germany, but couldn't do it. Good evening from the UK. Jay asking what other freelance work you do. Mostly it's in photography. I get asked to do extra articles or extra videos and stuff like that. I just can't fit it in. Even sponsored videos with KEH. I think they would have been happier if I did one sponsored video a week. I just told them, like, initially I said I can only do one video, sponsored video a month. And this month I'm going to try for 2. And then, because, it takes time for me to do a review, or like, these lives are very spontaneous, but for sponsoring, and this is where I think maybe KEH would sponsor maybe one live show a month, but we'll see if that's something that they're interested in. But I do get asked from a lot of different companies to sponsor videos, and just think of everyone you already see being sponsored. And I always make a joke about even Manscaping approached me about 1.5 years ago. So I haven't been approached by everyone, and I haven't said yes to everyone. A lot of them, I hadn't used their products. Like Squarespace approached me a couple years ago, and I told them, look, I don't want to be, I didn't have anything against Squarespace, but I just said, look, I'm trying to update my website. Let me use Squarespace and create my own website. And then if I love your product, then within good conscience, I can tell people, hey, use Squarespace because I use Squarespace. And this is my website that I've used with Squarespace. And my conscience wouldn't allow me to do that. And so I said, please wait until I rebuild my website. And it's been 2 years and I still haven't done my website. So I should probably do my website and then go back to Squarespace and say, hey, I finally built my website 2 years after you offered me sponsorship, and I love your products. Let's start doing some sponsored videos together. But even then, I have to be able to build up to a sponsored video per week. But I do some freelance work for my father, and it's a little bit complicated and probably not great to talk about my work life outside of this photo realm. Here on live, just in case my dad's watching. Hey Dad, I don't think he's watching, or maybe he does. No, my dad doesn't watch. My father is a reader. He's an academic. He spends most of his time reading books. I don't think he watches my videos. Dan, enjoy the lives. Thank you. I do appreciate it. Eric's asking about the 3314 rumor. Yeah, I think that would be cool. I have the Viltrox 33. Do I have it with me? Yeah, I have the Viltrox right here. The 3314. And I think if Fujifilm came out with the 3314, which is technically closer to a true 50mm equivalent, right? Because the 3514 is more like 52.5 or something like that. So this is closer to a true a 50mm 1.4. If they can make a 3314, that'd be awesome. I do really like this Viltrox. I think overall, if you're in the Fujifilm ecosystem, if you try and choose between the 3514 and the 35f2, between the two, this is the best kind of compromise between the two, minus the price. So forget about pricing, just optically and performance-wise, in terms of autofocus speed, accuracy, quietness, that kind of stuff. And then you include the price performance. This is really good. I like this. I carry this around way more than the 35f2. In fact, this has replaced the 35f2 for me, just because having that extra stop helps me with my low light photography. And as well, autofocus, I would say the 35f2 is a bit faster than the 3314 Viltrox. But definitely this thing destroys the 3514 for autofocus speed, accuracy, and quietness. And in terms of optics, optical quality, I would say that this is sort of between the 35 f2 and the 35 1.4. This does have issues with chromatic aberration. You definitely get purple fringing, and this is where I was going to share with you a photo, but I ran out of time to even transfer the photo to. Oh, I might even actually. You know what? Let me just see if I can get to it here. Let me just minimize this window here. So I apologize, I can't see your comments anymore. My apologies. Let me just open up File Explorer here on my computer. I'm gonna share with you a photo I took yesterday. It's for it's kind of, I'm giving you guys a bit of a sneak peek in update an upcoming article that I'm writing for it's due tonight for Fujilove, and it is the about what's going on here. It is sorry guys, let me just work this out here, and then now let's just go to window grab plus screen grab. Here we go. Let's just see if this works. There you go. So this is a photo I took of Camera Girl yesterday at the amazing Brentwood. That's the name of the new mall. It's the old mall, the Brentwood Mall, that I kind of grew up hanging out around growing up. It was the closest mall to where I grew up in East Vancouver until actually even Metrotown is a little bit further away than Brentwood from my childhood home. Anyway, so Camera Girl and I went there. She is in training at work, and so she worked Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 all of last week. And so she basically spent her entire week indoors, and so she said, Take, I need some sun. So we went to this courtyard, this outdoor courtyard they have. So she didn't have to wear a mask, but I thought it was an appropriate photo to share. The photo is quite, let me see here. Yeah, these are some of the other photos I took. This has ended up being a pretty sharp, let me just here. I don't know how to zoom with this here. Let me just, here we go. It's quite a sharp image. Maybe it's hard to tell on this screen here, and because this is only 1080 on this Asus. It's not 1440. So anyways, this is a photo I took of Camera Girl, and you can sort of see here, the reason why I'm showing you this is this is not the Viltrox. Actually, you know what? So this is the per gear. Okay, this is the per gear that I used. And let's just get out of this. Let me just, you guys can now see my file structures here. Here, reviews, Viltrox with the X Pro 3. Spinning hard drive takes a long time. See, what the heck? I double clicked it. There we go. And here we go. Good copy. And which was a good picture here? Here. Let me just increase the size of this photo. You could see this is the Viltrox 56. Okay, not the 33. And the 56, I noticed, can you see all that purple in there? So that's what you call purple fringing. Often you get purple fringing in the foreground, and then you get green fringing in the background. But there's nothing of strong highlights in the background here. Typically, it's not that strong, but typically you would see green. Actually, you can see it right there. A little bit of green there. So you get a bit of green fringing there. And this is shot wide open at f1.4, the 56-1.4. And then in the foreground here, you're getting purple fringing. See that? That's my wife's Fluvog boots there that she loves so much. So the 33-1.4 isn't as bad as the... It's not as bad as the 56 when it comes to color fringing. And in terms of sharpness too, I do think that the 33-1.4 is sharper than the 56-1.4. Different focal lengths, obviously, but I do prefer optically the 35 over the 33 over the 56. The 56 is nowhere near the Fujifilm's XF5612 that I've seen from the tests that I've done so far. So, anyways, let me just kind of catch up here. Someone saying about the timing is good, clock forward. Greetings from Montreal. Hello, Kev from Montreal. Oh, look at that. Someone had said there's a New York Times piece, learning to love the daylight savings time. Learning to love daylight savings time. Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, and I think maybe for a lot of you, especially now that we've gone virtual, if you're dealing with multiple countries in different time zones, and let's just say for a living you do conference calls, for a living you do YouTube, for a living you have people in different countries, you need to know, okay, this country, like for instance, Singapore was a British colony, but they're also very close to the equator. So the difference between the daylight in the fall and the summer is probably like half an hour to an hour, or maybe almost no difference of when the sun sets and rises. So maybe they don't. But then, there's other British colony countries that maybe are, like for instance, the Falkland Islands. Weird example, but they are further down south, and maybe they do or they don't. I have no idea. And so you'd have to memorize which countries do and don't. And then now that, as we're seeing here, some countries start daylight savings and end daylight savings now at different times now. You also have to memorize all of that. And also remember, in Canada, I think some of the prairie provinces don't do daylight savings because of the farming, the timing of the farming harvest, and it affects the amount of time that the farmers can work. And I think their sons or their daughters also work on the farms and when they went to school. Anyways, all that stuff was played into the decision to not let, I think Saskatchewan or Manitoba, you guys can correct me or let me know which provinces don't, but they don't do daylight savings. And so even within Canada, we have to memorize like, oh yeah, though we all go forward in the spring, except for these provinces, they're still back in daylight time. So it's confusing. I find it confusing. Did you get any Filson gear? John Lehman's bag of choice. Jeff, I would love to review Filson. As you can probably guess, I can't afford to buy them just to review them. It doesn't make any financial sense. So it would have to be they would send me stuff. And I don't think, unless someone at Filson loves my brand, I don't see them sending them to me to review. They would probably look at my numbers and say, oh, he only has 56,000 followers or whatever. I don't even know how many I have. How many do I have? 46,000? I haven't even hit 50 yet. So I would love to review Filson bags. That's where maybe if I do more bag reviews, I'd get known more for bag reviews other than camera reviews. And perhaps they would start sending me bags. Actually, this is, I was going to share with you guys, how cool Chrome's shoes, the shoe boxes are. We're all used to Adidas and Nike and Puma boxes, but look how cool Chrome's shoe boxes are. And what they give you is they give you 2 stickers. Cool brands give you stickers. They give you a huge Chrome sticker and then one of the smaller Chrome stickers to put on whatever you want. And so I think that's very cool. And then these are the Kirsks, I think, that I showed in one of my latest shoes and cameras. This is kind of more of a skateboarding shoe, but I love the kind of like the gums, not the gum sole, but the rubberized sole. Nice toe cap here. And, not great for walking. As you can tell, it's more about the sort of lateral stability. But my favorite color, green. Again, stickers. Taka loves stickers. Camera Girl loves stickers too, but she just collects them. She actually doesn't use them. So, anyways, shoebox. I love packaging. Shoeboxes are very functional packaging, right? Only crazy people destroy them and recycle them. You have to use them for storage and stuff. That's like a secondary use for shoeboxes, right? GR3 seems too expensive for its type of camera. The specs are great, but not for 750, 900. Thoughts? I think because they are in a very unique category, meaning how many other cameras use an APS-C size sensor in a body size this small, right? I think I showed you before. I'll be right back. I showed you guys. I have the older. This is the GR3 from I think 2010, and this uses a 1/1.7 inch sensor, which is I think some of the higher end smartphones use sensors of this size, right? And this is the GR3. They're basically the same size, but this has an APS-C size sensor. This uses this one here uses a 1/1.7 inch sensor, and so the best way to tell what something is worth is to compare it to its closest competition, and there just really isn't a competition to this. Someone might say the RX100 series, but that uses a 1-inch sensor, and I think the RX100, the latest one, whatever it is, Mark 6 or Mark 7, that's probably about $1,000 as well. And others will compare this to the X100 series, and that is over $1,000, right? It's what, 1,400 US or something like that. And if you look at the Coolpix A, which was sort of the Ricoh GR competition when it first came out back in the mid 2010s, that was over $1,000. And so if you look at its competition, not direct but reasonably close enough, they're all about $1,000. So I think for what the image quality you're getting with an APS-C size sensor, with a super sharp lens, with built-in IBIS, there really isn't a competition to this camera. So if you say that's way too expensive, I'd rather buy its competition. You don't really have one. And even if you did, compared to what I mentioned, they're all about the same price point anyway. So, market forces will always equalize the price of something. So for instance, when the Coolpix A came out, I think the Ricoh GR, the original APS-C GR came out like a couple months later, and it was I think about 700 US or 800 US, and the Coolpix A was like 1,200 US, so it was about $400 or $300 more. Eventually, Nikon dropped the price down to the GR price, and then they just discontinued it, right? Market forces basically dictated that no one was willing to pay that price for the Nikon Coolpix A, but people were willing to pay that price for the Ricoh GR. And so, again, market forces will decide if this camera is worth the price. If enough people buy it, then it's worth it. Just like if Apple or any company creates some weird $20,000 gold-dipped Apple Watch, but if they sell out, then market forces have decided, yes, it's worth this much. They don't sell them in mass quantities. Like, this is not a mass produced. They don't make as many of these as something as like a smartphone, right? Like an iPhone. They're not making millions a year of this unit, but they make enough to balance the price that they're charging. Now, if they made twice as much, they could probably drop the price for $200-$300, right? And make this $600. But, if Ricoh did their homework, they would say, even if we doubled the output and we could drop the price by 20-30%, we won't sell 20-30%. We won't sell twice as much. And so, these companies do kind of sit there and work out the math. And that's why I think the Fujifilm X-E4 at $849 is $50 too much, personally. It should have come in at $799 US. And with the 27 pancake, I think it should have been under $1,000 US. For some odd reason, they kind of bumped up the price, which was weird for me. But again, market forces will decide, right? People will say, no, I'd rather pay the extra $50 and get the X-T30, or pay an extra $150 and get the XS10. And Fujifilm will look at their numbers and go, hey, wow, like, we're sitting on a lot of these X-E4s. We better drop the price. So anyways, that's my thoughts on the pricing of the X-E4. And Eric still looking for the new name for the Eskimos. Yeah, for sure. So let's find out what the new name is going to be. But I think it's going to start with an E or something, right? Or they said something's going to stay the same so they don't have to rebrand the team logo or something too much. 3:40 a.m. in Jakarta. Yeah, this time is very bad for you, Akyar? Sorry that the timing is not so good this spring. Forward is 1 hour worse than before, but thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Someone asking about the Zeiss lenses and the Konica Hexanon lenses, about them being reviewed. I did actually get that's a good question. Someone had asked me, Take, can you talk more about adaptive lenses? And here I actually did bring a couple of adapters here. This is for, what is this for? This is the MD to Fujifilm. So all my manual focus Minolta lenses. And then here is the Minolta autofocus to Fujifilm X mount. And so these are made by K&F. And so I adapt Minolta glass not because I personally think that they are superior, which I do personally think that they're superior, but that's not why I'm using them. It's because I already own Minolta glass. And so it's just fun to adapt lenses that I already have. I haven't adapted other lenses just because I don't own them. I'd have to go and buy them and then buy the adapters and then run my own tests. And I don't have the time or the resources to do that on a regular basis. Now, if I lived in Hong Kong or if I was close to friends that had tons of lenses and then I could just spend the $30, $40 and buy an adapter, I would love to test different glass on different mounts, but and sort of see what it looks like. Getting like Nikon glass on Fujifilm X series and then adding classic neg and getting some weird differences. Because I can even tell when I go from a Viltrox per gear and then a Fujifilm using the same film profile but just changing the optics. I can definitely see not only a color difference but even just a rendering characteristics of a lens. Like for instance, the per gear 35-1.6 has kind of heavy vignetting wide open, but the chromatic aberration control is very good wide open. And so you get a little bit of a darker lens along the edges. That can be easily fixed in post, but it controls chroma, which is harder to get rid of, for me at least, than the vignetting. I increase the exposure, and then I can do a reverse vignette on Lightroom and lighten the edges if I want. That's an easier correct for me. And so yeah, it'd be fun to play around with these different lenses. So if I can get a hold of any Zeiss or Hexanon lenses, I would love to play with them. I don't think there's any particular reason why they're not being adapted. It's just a matter of probably availability and those that are willing to experiment with different mounts. Atlanta, checking in. Andrew, thanks for checking in. I appreciate it. Someone asking about the Zeiss Toit. I don't even know how to pronounce it. But the 12 f2.8, I would love to play with that. And then doing a vlogging that. The problem is I need access to Zeiss. Fujifilm is not making this lens, so if I approach Fujifilm Canada, they'll be like, we don't have this lens. So if anyone in Canada or especially in Vancouver has that lens and you want me to test it, I'd love to test it. I just don't have access to it. And I'm not going to buy it just to test it, right? I would run out of money very quickly. Sebastian asking about updates for firmware. I wouldn't know any more than the rest of you guys. I don't get any secret meetings with Fujifilm unless I ask them. And for stuff like this, Fujifilm keeps it pretty tight if it hasn't been publicly announced about what cameras will get what firmware. But someone asking about adjusting the custom settings for the different recipes, saving the white balance adjustments. Yeah, I don't know what's happening with firmware updates, to be honest. I pretty much have to wait like the rest of you guys to get that kind of information. And if I don't have to wait because Fujifilm has told me early, then I'm probably under NDA and I can't talk about it anyway. So let me see here. Donald, I'm trying not to buy any gear this month. That sounds like me with shoes. I'm trying not to buy any shoes this month. Didn't last long. A gift card. Well, there you go. So you technically didn't really buy it, or at least not in full. And you bought a Think Tank photo backpack, a Backstory 13. Awesome. I love getting new bags. I thought I was kind of like weird 20 years ago because I love shoes and I love bags. And that seemed at the time more of like a girl thing, which I'm just like, why is it a girl thing? Guys can love bags and shoes as well. And now, like with sneaker culture and with like man bags, more and more North American men are carrying bags. I think in Europe and in Asia, it's more common for men to carry bags because in North America, most of us drive and we just keep our stuff in our cars, right? Where in Asia and in Europe, public transportation has been normalized for like, for a century. It's normal to take public transit or ride your bike or something like that. So for us, we don't have a car trunk. I say we. Those of us that are in Asia, those of us in Europe, we need a man bag. We need some kind of a backpack, not necessarily a camera bag, but you need to keep a water bottle and a DOP kit and your camera and your lunch and whatever else you want to carry with you at all times. And so Asia and North America and Europeans, especially men carrying totes, men carrying man bags, day bags is normalized. I think only now North Americans, or men at least, are picking up on the idea of like, yeah, it's nice to not always have stuff shoved in your pockets. It's nice to have even a small little bag to just put a few things in. And so it's good that you bought a bag. I love bags. I love bags and shoes and cameras and watches and pens and other EDC things. I got another little funny jump here. Let me just sort of back up. Let's see how far back I got jumped here. Let me see here. Here we go. Now I am Martin the Swede. Hey, Martin the Swede. I got the Chrome Cadet bag a couple days ago. Awesome. Looks great. I'm glad you're happy. Can't wait to try it out with some gear. Thanks for the tip. Got the regular one though. Yeah, I mean, I see. Yeah, the black and the leather one was a limited run. And I told people as soon as it came out, I posted it on Instagram and I posted it on Twitter. And I think I mentioned it on YouTube saying like, this is a limited run. So I'm just throwing out numbers, guys. I'm not sure if these are real numbers. Let's just say every colorway got 50,000 copies, right? So there's 50,000 black, 50,000 whatever. Limited runs are like limited runs. They may have only made a couple thousand of each. So I knew, like, just kind of knowing Chrome's sort of seasonal trends, when they have a limited edition bag and it's supposed to last for the season, so like, 4 to 6 months, typically it's gone within the first month. So as soon as that brown came out, I told everyone, buy it right away because it's going to be gone fast. So, because as soon as I saw it hit the website, one bag, Chrome had told me they had sold out the same day. Like, it came out, I emailed Chrome, it was the weekend, and then on the Monday, Chrome got back and said, Take, it's gone. And for that bag, I said, hey guys, like, I don't mind buying it. Can you just put one on hold for me? Like, I'm kind of not using bots for like sneaker guys, but I'm using my voice and saying, hey guys, put one aside for me. Love to buy. Even if it's a sample copy, I'll buy it. They said, sorry, it's gone. And then when the Chrome Cadet with the leather came out, same thing. I said, hey guys, can you put one on hold for me? And they said, no problem. We'll ship it out to you. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Cool. So they shipped it out. And I think within 2 weeks of me making those videos, Chrome had even said, hey, you can keep on using it, but just let people know that it's sold out now, just so they don't run out thinking that they can find it or asking us, where did that colorway go? And I told them, and they did say to me, after not only me, but others had suggested, maybe you should kind of do this same trend. Like every time do a little limited leather run on all your bags. And, they'll probably do really well. So anyways, but I'm glad, Martin, that you got your Chrome Cadet. And as you probably noticed, someone had asked me, will an iPad Pro fit in there, the 11-inch, not the 12.9-inch? And it can fit. It is a little tight for me based on how much stuff that I put in it. But I think for the average normal person that doesn't overstuff it, the 11-inch and the 10.5-inch Pro, which is the one I have, will fit in the regular Chrome bag, no problem. It won't fit in the mini though. And if it does, it'll just barely fit, but I'm pretty sure it won't fit. Eric, we need an official Canadian dealer for Viltrox. Definitely. That's the reason I'm staying away from them. If I need warranty service, I still have to send it back to China. That's true. So that's a good point. So maybe I will talk to Viltrox and ask them, maybe you guys should have a Canadian distributor. Or convince Amazon to stock it, right? Or B&H to stock it. Hong Vu says you just ordered an XE4. Congratulations. Which manual lens in 50mm do you recommend? Do you mean like a 50mm equivalent, Hong? Depending on your budget, you can get the XC35, but the problem with the XC lens is there's no aperture ring on it, and the XE4 doesn't have a front and rear dial, and so you are kind of dial short. And so I would recommend the XF35 f2 RWR over the XC, specifically for the XE4, because it doesn't have two spinning dials for control. The 35-1.4 is optically better than the 35 f2, but because it's the older design, slower autofocus, noisier autofocus, less accurate autofocus, I would recommend that. As a third-party option, you can get the Viltrox 33-1.4. It is bigger and heavier though than either the 35-1.4 or the 35 f2, so that's where maybe it wouldn't be a good option. Another option is if you don't mind manually focusing. I love the PerGear 35-1.6. Now this lens is under $100 US, and it is reasonably compact, super sharp. Optically, it is better than the 35 f2 and optically equal to the 35-1.4. But of course, this is manually focused. It just has a different character to it than the 35-1.4. If push came to shove, if I had to pick between the 35-1.4 and the 35-1.6 PerGear, I would go 35-1.4. But for the price, for the size, and just the fun of shooting with the manual focus lens, I love it on the X Pro 3. It just has a film look to it. I love that steel rim on the black body. I think it also has a real cool look to it, and it does come with a ventilated lens hood, and it's like, again, it's $100. It's less than $100 US. So there is a 35-1.2 version of that lens, which I haven't tested yet. So I'm gonna ask Viltrox to send that to me. So hopefully those options are sufficient. Someone asking me, Akyar asking me about the TTArtisan 35-1.4. I haven't tested any of the TT stuff yet. Seven artisans, TTArtisans. I'm not even sure if it's the same company or not. They approached me in December through Fujilove asking if I wanted the review gear, and I said yes. And so I'm waiting for them to reach back out to me. They said, we'll get back to you in the new year. And I said, cool. And they said, what lens are you interested in? And I said, 35. Did they have a 35.95 or 35 f1? If they do, that's the one I asked for. I said, that sounds like a fun lens. And they said, Dan Bailey, I think he's a Fujifilm X photographer out of the US. Dan Bailey has it in Alaska, and he wants it for an extra week. So once he's done with it, we'll touch base with you and send it to you. And now it's March. So maybe Dan decided to keep it, or maybe they just forgot about me. But I will be reviewing their stuff eventually. I'm not pushing hard to review it. It's up to them if they want me to review it, to reach out to me and see if I want to review it or not. So we'll see what happens. But I will be reviewing it eventually. But it's up to them. It's up to TT and Seven Artisans. Guys, if you want me to review lenses, send them out to me, and I would gladly review them. Even shoe reviews. Yeah, I'm actually really wanting to do shoe reviews because I would love to do a bag and shoe review, and even do like a combination of like what shoes do I think will go with what bag, which will go with what camera. I think that'd be a lot of fun, right? And I would love to have shoe brands sending me shoes on a regular basis so I don't have to keep on buying them. Ultimately, I think the one brand I would love to work with, ideally, would probably be Adidas, would be my number one choice. But the chances of them working with me is very unlikely unless I do regular shoe reviews, like at least twice a month, with the shoes I already have, because I can't afford to buy 2 new pairs of shoes every month on a regular basis without them actually sending them to me for me to review. But I would also love to work with some smaller, I say smaller, on a global scale, these brands might not be small, but less known brands like Asics. I think that would be great. It's a Japanese brand, also known as Onitsuka, and as well as New Balance, which is actually quite a powerful brand. And I would love to review either the UK or their US built shoes, like the 990s, the 992s, and the 1300s. And I would love to work not with just shoe brands, but just like sneaker brands, but also shoe brands. I love shoes as well. So brands like Camper or Sidewalk or Allen Edmonds, brands like that. And yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. I don't even know if I have time for all these things, but maybe. We'll see. Boris never personally understood the fascination with GR type cameras. Yeah, it's kind of an acquired taste, like caviar and maybe even sushi. People that don't get caviar, I don't get caviar, other than salmon roe. It's just a way of shooting. You're kind of shooting with your arms out. So in a way, you gain an extra 2.5 feet to your subject, right? So you can photograph someone like this, right? It's less intimidating, especially when you're doing street portraiture, to say, hey, I would love to take a photo of you. Do you mind? And then you kind of take your arm out like this and you photograph them, versus you being like this, right? See how close that feels? People are less intimidated when you're doing street portraiture like this. And that's the same thing with using a smartphone. Taking a portrait of a stranger like this, right? Which feels you're kind of in their personal space even now, especially now because of COVID, versus saying, hey, I would love to take a portrait, and you can still kind of talk to them over the camera like this, and then kind of, and also it's another way of shooting where you have full peripheral. So if you're doing street photography, you're shooting like this, kind of down below like this, but you still have your full peripheral. You can see what's coming into your field of view. You could do that with an LCD, right? Like you can do that with the X Pro 3. You got to flip it down this way, so it's a little bit weirder. But you can still shoot like this, right? Have it down and kind of looking left, looking right, and then looking down your LCD screen. But it's just a certain style. I've been shooting GR since the old film days. And so I just love the form factor, and I love the cracking lenses they make. They're just super sharp. And yeah, it's just a certain way. It's like I also love riding fixie bikes. And people that love geared racing bikes don't understand those that are fascinated with the fixed gear bike craze. But I love it. I've been riding fixie for over a decade, maybe about 13, 14 years I've been riding fixie. I just love it. And before that, and I still have geared bicycles, right? I'm not that insane. I have a total of 5 bikes. One of them is a fixie. 2 of them are foldable. One is a hybrid, and one is a mountain bike. And then my fixie is a track bike. It's a Fuji track bike. Different Fuji than the Fujifilm camera brand. But people that ride geared bikes are saying the same thing probably, like those crazy fixie riders. What do they think? But everyone that I've ever got who rides a geared bike to try a fixie, they've all loved it. Now, not all of them run out and bought one saying it's fun. I get it. I now know why people love it so much, but it's still not for me for what I do. But they now understand once they try it, it's just a lot of fun. And so maybe you just got to give the GR a try. And maybe you have and you still don't understand. But hey, more choice the better, right? The more variety we have, just like in the old film days, definitely had way more variety of types of cameras. Everything from, like a half frame SLR camera like the Pen F to another weird Olympus, little point and shoot, manual focus, aperture priority. Where's that aperture priority? Right here, aperture priority with a built-on side flash, to regular SLRs, to twin lens cameras like this, stereo cameras like this. Look at that. Maybe this will be my thumbnail. What do you guys think? I never ever thought about doing that. I'll just do a little like a blue steel kind of a look like this. Anyways, variety. Variety is the spice of life, is it not? Hey Fred, how's it going, buddy? I have the GR3, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's a great camera if you love it. If you don't, I kind of get why people don't like it. Just like I kind of get why people don't like fixies. I get it, right? I get it. You want the control, you want gears. It makes sense. Why would any normal person want just one gear? But once you get it, you kind of get it, right? It definitely is a niche camera that Akyar is saying. GFX 100S. Yeah, I'm still waiting for the GFX 100S. I'm just not a high priority for Fujifilm. They're sending them off to other people that they feel could market the camera better. And, that's what it is, right? Nobody deserves a review camera. It's who they feel is the best fit to help them market it, to help them sell more cameras. And that's what it comes down to. So it does kind of get political. I will patiently wait for my turn. Boris talking about rather have a mount than the GR, like an all-in-one, but it's better than a phone. Yeah, I mean, the phone is better in terms of integrated into our current digital ecosystem. Because even if you don't use a smartphone for photography, you probably do use, you use Instagram, you use Facebook, you use Flickr, you use 500px, you use Twitter, you use digital platforms to share your photos, and smartphones just do the integration of you take a photo, you quickly process it, and then immediately be able to post and share. And that's what smartphones have done is and now they're also increasing the image quality, but back then it was more about how quickly you can shoot and share, right? And that's where regular camera manufacturers like Ricoh and Fujifilm and Canon and Nikon, well, Nikon is really struggling, Sony need to find a better way of creating a quicker, more efficient interface that people can shoot, process, and share. And I even mentioned even brands like Visco that create filters to partner with Visco and create a Visco filter pack for the GR or the Fujifilm. Fujifilm won't do it because they have great color science, but even Sony, which has horrible color science, if you're good, you can make the Sony files look good, but you have to work it a little bit, right? Canon straight to the camera is really nice. To work with brands, software companies, even working with platforms like Instagram to make it easier to share your photos directly. So having some kind of an Instagram quick share feature in your smartphone, and you can even type out the posts in camera and then hit send. I don't know. Cameras with built-in SIM cards. Who knows? Whatever that may be. But definitely for the average user, the average mom and pa, they're going to use a smartphone to take pictures. And they should. I don't expect my mom to carry a GR and then learn how to transfer photos from this to her smartphone and then be able to share it. I don't expect her to, right? So I think if the camera companies want to increase their market share, they have to think about the grandmas and the soccer moms and the soccer dads and the people that aren't camera savvy. If they want, and for those of us that are camera snobs, kind of, like we love photography, we're not just about social media. We have to accept that, hey, if Ricoh can make a cheap GR, maybe a 1-inch sensor that they can sell 10 million copies of in the next 5 years, that's more money in their pocket that they can then subsidize and use to help make these things better and cheaper and faster. And that's what all the major camera manufacturers did all through the 1970s and 80s and 90s and the 2000s. The top line cameras like the Nikon the F6 or the Canon EOS 1s back in the film days, they didn't make money for Canon and Nikon and Minolta, right? They were lost leaders. They made money off the EOS Rebels. They made money off the entry-level cameras that they were selling to grandmas and grandpas and soccer moms and soccer dads. They sold those en masse. They sold those by the millions to the average person. And the money that they made from that went into research and development to create flagship cameras that were lost leaders for them. But when all the pros were using EOS 1s and F6 and F5s, Then they use that as like, look, all the pros use Canon or all the pros use Nikons. And you go to a tennis game and you see them wearing the Nikon vest or the Canon vest. And then the mom paws, they're not buying F6s or EOS 1s. They're buying the Rebels. But there's a brand association going, hey, look, all the pros are using Canon. I think I should buy a Canon. And then they go to Future Shop or Best Buy and they buy the camera that's within their market range. So that's where Canon and Nikon and Pentax and Minolta made all their money. And in one sense, Pentax and Olympus made a foolish mistake of putting all their money on that entry-level stuff and didn't bother with the pro-end stuff, which really hurt them when digital came and they had to focus with interchangeable lens stuff. Pentax and Olympus almost ignored the interchangeable lens systems for like a decade as they focused on bridge cameras and point and shoots, and that's where they were just bringing in like profit. There's just tons of money. So while Canon, Nikon, and Minolta were really kind of losing money on their top end pro lenses, like how many 600 f4s were sold, right? Not many. Did they make money off it? Probably not, but they needed to make those lenses because that's what pros were asking for. And but that was being subsidized by their entry level stuff. So you know, people who if you were going to convince people to buy cheaper point and shoots, they do need to be cheaper, but they also need to be well integrated into the ecosystem, right? So that's kind of the problem that that camera manufacturers have, is that if they're only catering to camera nerds like us, the market will continue to shrink over time. That's the problem. Let's try to catch up here, guys. I'm gonna try to maybe just pick up on questions if that's all right. Tomak from Poland. Dzień dobry. Actually, it's not dzień dobry, is it? It's dzień. It's evening. How do you say good evening in Polish? I only know good morning because I had a receptionist when I was at Kodak, because she was Polish, so I always say dzień dobry. You think Ricoh will ever put a rangefinder style EVF on the GR? I'm bugging them to do it, even if it's. I think at least put a accessory EVF for now. But if they can put something like this, as I showed off the Olympus XA with the A11 flash unit, if they can create an attachable flash and EVF, wouldn't that be cool? Something like this. So that they would have a flash and an electronic viewfinder built into one unit and then attach it. There you go. That's a freebie, Ricoh. It's a freebie. Or if any of you guys are engineers, go patent it and just convince Ricoh to do it. But something like this with electronic contacts here and connect it like this. And there you go. Now you have an EVF and you have a flash. And those that don't want an EVF and a flash, and then don't buy this external unit that they can sell for maybe $200-$300, especially if it has an EVF in it, $300. I think it'd be a good solution and a good compromise. Donald, I ride motorcycles and bicycles, so I use backpacks. Yeah, backpacks are the most convenient. I also, my daily bags that I use every day for the studio, this is my Chrome Industries Highland, I think it's called. And this is a backpack here. Awesome bag. It's also can be carried like a brief, like a business brief bag. This is discontinued now. So sorry for sharing with you a discontinued bag, but that's a backpack. And then for my studio, for studio gear, I use this the BP 350 by Low Pro, and I like this bag because it just carries so much stuff. I mean, this is half empty now just because it's all on my desk here, but it's great for transporting gear from home to studio. But then when I go home for lunch and I go home for snack or whatever, so I leave all this stuff here, then I go into my closet, grab a tote or a sling, and then I go home, have lunch, come back. As long as it holds my iPad and a point and shoot, I'm happy. Or on my days off, I use a sling or something like that. But yeah. Zachary, question but not a question. Do you ever take pictures in your dreams and then wonder where they're saved while you were awake? That's funny. I like that. You should. That's a good that quote. Zachary, if you I should screenshot that. Let me just how do I do screenshot? Here we go. Print screen and print screen this. Here we go. I if you don't have if you don't have let me see here. If you don't have Twitter, I will tweet it for you and quote you. But I think that's funny. That could go viral. So Zachary, let me know if you have Twitter. If you do, tweet it and then just at me in the tweet. I think that'll be funny. What is my take, Numiel, on the X-T20 in 2021 regarding IQ? Well, the X-T20 is still good. I mean, the X-T20 has the same processor and sensor as the XE3, the X100F, the X Pro 2, the XH1, the XT2, and it might be missing something else. It's great. One of my brothers uses an X-T20 as well as the Sony, but I think he's sort of I'm trying to get him to switch over to Fujifilm because I told him, dude, you can use any of my lenses. You can borrow any of them anytime you want if you switch over to Fujifilm. But definitely, X-T20 is great. I actually would recommend to people to buy the X-T20 if you don't want to spend more than I'm thinking you can still buy the body only for about $500, hopefully. Michael saying he shoots the 7-Artisan 35 f1.2 on his X Pro 1 and love it, in which the X Pro 1 had better focus peaking though. Yeah, you would love the focus peaking on the newer Fujifilms. They're fantastic. MP asking if I use UV filters. Only time I use, in general, I never use filters. I don't like UV filters. There are a few exceptions. I do have, I'm gonna just blow the dust off of this lens here. And this was also going to be part of my conversation on using adapted lenses, that I do have this Minolta 50mm f2.8 1:1 macro, so you can see how far out. This goes all the way to 1:1. As you can see, it's giving you the ratio here. This lens has such a deep filter without a filter on here, that it goes so deep that I'm worried about dust getting in. That I put a filter on this. But in general, I don't use filters on anything. This is my 24 f2.8 MD mount Minolta, no filter. Yeah, I don't use filters at all, other than for function. So either a neutral density filter, a polarizer, or if I'm shooting black and white film and I want to use a red or an orange or a yellow filter or stuff like that. So in general, I don't use filters. Oh, another big jump there. Hey, Travis Morris, thank you for the donation here. Appreciate it, Travis. I don't know how to. Someone had said if I click on, I can bump you to the top, but I do appreciate it, Travis. Thank you. And he asked, I have a question. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you as well. What do you think about CL2 rumors? Do you think this might be released? I wouldn't be surprised. They can see the strength of their cropped sort of lineup, because their SL series is getting, it's chunkified, right? And people complain, but they don't want to buy an M, so they do need that smaller APS-C. And I think after Fujifilm, I think Leica has shown, I would say, due respect in a sense to their crop sensor by really thinking a lot about the design. Because you remember from the all their all-in-one point and shoots, from the X Vario to their X series all-in-one point and shoots, were all APS series, as well as their Leica T, the T2, and then they went to they have had quite a few iterations of APS-C bodies, right? And so I wouldn't be surprised, and I would be happy if they come out with a CL2. I think that'd be great. Jay mentioning if I do more bag shoe reviews, I'd be pushing to share towards man fashion groups instead of photography group. No, I mean, definitely my focus will be photography, and my shoes and my bags will be more photocentric. So even if a fashion person decided to look at my channel because of my shoe review or my bag review, it'd be so camera centric they'd eventually get sick and tired of me and then move on. I think the hub of my brand is still going to be photography, so don't worry about that. And MK Wong, are you into watches? I love watches. Yeah, I was into watches even before photography. I was fascinated by them. It was like my entry into manhood when I first got my first watch, because like you're now a man because you have a watch and you're responsible. And when we say you come home at this time, you can't say, sorry, I don't have a watch. You have a watch now. It's your responsibility to make sure you wind it every day and stuff like that. So I love watches. I've been collecting watches since I was probably like before I was a double-digit age. It's probably since I was 8 or 9 years old. Fixed gear in Vancouver, it's tough. Yeah, it's not easy. I had to do a lot of zigzagging on the big hills. Time. All right, thank you, Cafe YVR. Appreciate it. Luminance Parade. Do you have preference Fujifilm sensors over the years? I actually do prefer the latest and greatest, to be honest. I know there's a certain quality to the first gen stuff, the X100, the original X100, the X Pro 1, the XE1. Those had a certain look to them, but in terms of the current resolution balance, I think it's fantastic. I do prefer the latest. And, you know, you can't have a sensor in isolation from the processor as well as the firmware. So that's where I say the combination. If I can go from generation, it'd be neat to get Gen 1 sensor with the current X processor 4 and the latest firmware to sort of see what the images would look like. But other than that, and get the same performance in terms of autofocus speed and stuff like that. But I would say the combination of sensor, processor, and firmware is the current models right now. I think they're great. And again, thank you, Travis, again for the super chat. Appreciate it. And again, I'm just trying to get to the questions, guys. How do you decide when to shoot film or digital on your day off, or do you carry both? I carry not only both, Kevin, I carry 3. Check out my last couple of YouTube videos. I usually carry like a film point and shoot. So right now, this is my Pentax SBO. Oh, the battery just died on this. No, it's not, didn't die. It's super quiet. Listen to that. Reasonably quiet. So this is a Pentax SBO Mini. And then I'll carry like a Ricoh GR. So you can imagine how little weight these two are, right? Almost nothing. And then like a full-size camera. In fact, yesterday I carried around my Instax, my SQ6, which I love this camera. And Camera Girl brought her SQ1, the orange colored one, the recent one with almost no control features. But yeah, it's a feeling. Usually if it's something that's sentimental and something that I want to sort of marinate the image, and I don't mind waiting 6 months or 3 months or 2 months to see the image, then I will, other than the Instax, which you get to see immediately, I will choose to shoot film. So usually it's personal stuff, sentimentality, stuff I want to savor over time, I'll shoot film. Or if it's a specific project, like my Hong Kong Neon project, is when I would shoot film. Again, I'm just looking for questions, guys, but I do appreciate all your comments. And Tim Zanation, $4. Thank you, Tim, for your donation, super chat. I appreciate it. Coffee, you're showing a little coffee icon. That's definitely something. I'll buy Camera Girl a mocha. How about that? Especially if she's watching. Camera Girl, I'll pick you up a mocha from Tim. I'll tell her that Tim paid for her mocha from Chez Christophe. Greetings from Kiev. What is your opinion? Fujifilm will add improve the X100V. What's the future of this line? Good question. I don't have the X100V with me. Hopefully it will be some way of making it fully weather sealed without adding the adapter and the filter thread. But because they just updated the lens, most likely they won't do it in the next generation. I think Fujifilm is continually trying to miniaturize their IBIS unit. And so my guess is that if they can, they will throw in IBIS in the X100. And this is just for the series, not just for the X100, but the NPW126S battery. Hopefully they're trying to sort of densify that battery and be able to put more milliamp hours so the camera battery will last longer. Perhaps improve how the EVF, OVF can be integrated. And really, I hope a lot of it is just in the firmware. I think maybe what you're asking is perhaps in terms of hardware or physical features, physical buttons. It seems like Fujifilm is going backwards. They're trying to remove everything. So I hope they don't remove the focus select dial, which is more of a switch on the X100V, with being able to switch between single, continuous, and manual focus. I hope they don't get rid of it. It's kind of sort of hidden on the side on the X Pro series anyways. And so, but that's a good question. That's something to kind of meditate over, right? Something to kind of think about. You know what? I tried so hard to get OBS working, and I ended up not using it that often anyways. So, but anyways, thanks, Asomok. Thank you for that question. And someone mentioning about eyeing the GR3, but then looking for a used Q. Very different cameras. The Q is quite big and heavy, but optically it's beautiful. And I do love that 28-1.7 lens. And having that macro version is really cool. Although, you know, when you go to macro, I think it goes to f2.8. That's something that, but I think that's fair because at macro, you don't want to shoot at 1.7. It's the depth of field is way too shallow. But then you keep telling yourself to keep your GR. I think keep your GR and just buy the Q used anyways. I think very different cameras though. Johnny D asking what make and model is the best Fujifilm film camera? What make and model? It depends what you're shooting. If you're shooting medium format, if you're shooting large format, if you're shooting film, if you're shooting rangefinder, if you're shooting SLR, if it really depends, Johnny. And if you mean historically or within a certain time period or when film photography ended, you know what I mean? If you mean when film photography ended, who was the most forward when it comes to 35 mil, it would definitely be Nikon, Canon, Minolta. Those three had the best sort of balance of good autofocus bodies as well as autofocus lenses. Pentax had great lenses. Olympus had great lenses, but they had horrible bodies when it came to the end of autofocus era. Olympus didn't have a true autofocus body. Pentax had a lot of prosumer and consumer level autofocus bodies, but no pro bodies at that time. It didn't come out until the K1 digital SLR, DSLR, before Pentax made a pro full frame SLR body, but they had great optics. But at the same time, Pentax also had medium format, where Canon, Nikon, and Minolta did not have medium format at that time era, right? They had the Pentax 6.7 series and the Pentax 6.45 series. And Mamiya, sure, they did have 35 mil SLRs back in the manual focus film era, but not really in the autofocus era. But they had their medium format cameras, and those were also great. So depending on what sort of era you're focusing on, there were tons of great camera manufacturers doing great work at the time. Xavier, Leica Q or M Type 262. Again, two very different cameras. If you want something that's all in one, you don't have to think. You could put it in auto mode, auto focus, auto exposure, auto everything. Get the Leica Q. Also close focusing, right? Because remember, M lenses don't focus very closely. A lot of them are just 0.7 meters. And so forget macro photography, right? Forget accurate viewfinder focusing other than going to the LCD. Very different cameras. Also, if you buy an M262, do you have lenses? Then you got to buy lenses as well. So, I need to know your total case use. I need to know what you already have and what your photographic goals are for these cameras to know which one of these two I would recommend for you. So, Luminance asking about the Himatic G. I think it's great. The Minolta Himatic. I would, as much as I love Minolta, I would probably still go with the Canonet QL series over the Minolta Highmatic, but out of nostalgia, I would probably end up getting a Highmatic G anyways. Both great cameras. I think they're all basically 40 mil, right? But they're just different, like f1.7, f2, f2.8, whatever version you got. But it's great. If you can get one at a good price, I say go for it. Those are a little bit more under the radar than the Canonets. And anyways, guys, I'm at 1 hour and 20 minutes, and I have an article due, and I got to get going. You can hear I'm kind of losing my voice, so it's time to go. So thank you so much for watching. I'm just trying to pick what camera I'm going to use. I'm going to use this Pen F. So thank you so much for watching, and happy shooting. And also thanks for the super chat donors. Appreciate it. $9. I can buy a coffee and a pastry for Camera Girl. It's a little bit slower on this. There you go. Peace.